Chapter 4, Part 7. What? What is it? Lugawan asked, heart racing as they slowly backed away. The object that appeared before them defied description. Well, you activated it, didn't you? Ag retorted. Doesn't mean I know what it is. Scared the heck out of me. So you are terrified of some things. Ag was delirious with adrenaline. Oh, like it didn't scare you at all. I mean, we're in the digital world. Weird stuff is gonna happen, Ag said, scratching the back of his head and trying to remain calm. The strange sights of the wall slum had primed Ag to expect the unexpected, to a certain extent. Wow, so Ag's the more adaptable one? I mean, that's not strictly true just because I'm observing it now, but it's not true just because I haven't witnessed it before, Dormon mused. If you wanna chase logic in circles, do it in your head. It scared me, okay? End of story. Everyone fell silent, and Lugaman looked at the object for a moment. You know, I think, come to think of it, I've seen this thing somewhere before. You're just saying that, aren't you? Ag asked pointedly, eyes fixed on the object. His eyes slowly focused on something carved into the spherical object. The three types, Yulin blurted out. Oh yeah, just like in the DDL lobby, Ag added, recalling the three hololized objects he'd seen so many times before. What types that formed the basis of Digimon taxonomy? Virus, data, and vaccine. One of the objects moved towards Lugamon. That would be the virus attribute for Lugamon, Dorumon explained as the data object moved over Dorumon's head, and the vaccine object moved over the still prone Ryudamon. The mere presence of the prototype Digimon in the source domain must have triggered a response in the objects. They are terminals, and we prototype Digimon are the interfaces. Welcome, Tartarus, to the fortress of containing the sacred chalice. It's been quite a long journey, Dorumon, Kosuke said. Indeed, but we shouldn't celebrate until we truly succeeded, Dorumon replied as they nodded to one another. Gateway correct. Source domain entered. Phase 3 complete. Commencing Phase 4 of Operation Tartarus, Kosuke said as he took a step forward. We're so close, Kosuke. Now, to try and access the source code. You still have plenty of mind-linking time left, right? Kosuke said, turning to look at Ag. You know it, Ag said, putting his hand on Lugamon's back. Dorumon gently swished their tail through the air. The source domain, Yulin said softly, trying to process what was happening. She had the skills, but never went this deep into the hacking world. I doubt you would have heard of this place, Yulin, Kosuke said. This is the realization of every expedition and piece of research the professor conducted since the discovery of the digital world. But now it's no longer theoretical. I can finally save Saya. Saya. Kosuke's long-lost mind-linker partner tried to a black Agumon, Ag recalled. The woman whose body was now suspended in liquid in a capsule far, far away. He figured Yulin would be able to understand Kosuke's desire to have the woman who went DMIA as a result of the Tartarus program's failures. What he hadn't properly accounted for were the completely different roads they'd taken after the accident. Kosuke became a codecracker, while Yulin went all in on the Digipolice. Nevertheless, the leader of the aggressive SOC Foundation and the Digipolice squad leader once again found themselves joined together as a result of the paths they'd chosen, or felt they had no choice but to follow. They'd carried the loss of Saya with them all their lives, filling the hole she left by throwing themselves into their work, honing the skills they needed to survive to an exceedingly fine point. In the end, Kosuke and Dorumon emerged victorious. Perhaps that meant Professor Ryusenji had as well. Eiji reckoned the professor was also looking for. She was a former student of his as well, which would explain why he'd given Kosuke the syringe full of medicine. The pieces fit. Eiji kept connecting the dots. His installation on the SOC as a spy must have been a long play in the hopes that Lugamon would digivolve to their ultimate form and help crack the gateway. He had to imagine that bet paid off faster than even the professor himself expected. Eiji felt the full weight of Kosuke saying he trusted Professor Ryusenji and of his own place in the grand tale of humanity's foray into the digital world. He wasn't kidding, Yulin said, glancing in Eiji's direction. This old domain is a massive security hole. Very perceptive, crossroads witch, Dorumon said. I know what you two want, Yulin shouted, grabbing one of Ryudamon's clawed paws in an attempt to rouse it to its feet. You want to crack the code for the digital world itself. That's right. We'll circumvent the Royal Knights, slip past the system administrator, and take control. You'll put a target on your backs. It's too dangerous, Yulin said, pressing her case. I have no delusions of ruling the digital world in perpetuity. I need control for but a moment, over a small piece. No, it's too risky. If you subject the source domain to the whims of humans and Digimon alike... These are no mere whims, Dorumon said, taking umbrage with Yulin's framing. This is only to save Saya. Nothing more, Kosuke said, unmoved. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be here. We can't risk destroying the fragile connection between humanity and the digital world. Do you really think we understand Digimon and the digital world well enough to be messing with this place? Yulin's words echoed throughout the source domain. They hung in the air, calling attention to what was at stake. Their own lives. In the beginning, there was chaos, from which emerged reason and language. Perhaps that was how the digital world began. Then, little by little, emotion added color. A beautiful noise. This is for Saya. Those simple words summarized half of Kosuke's life. Eiji felt the deep, deep connection and affection Kosuke shared with Saya. Deeper than most people share with their colleagues, to be sure. But she was the only person the legendary codecracker Tartarus ever lost mid-mission. That had haunted him ever since. But there was nothing else too. Something beyond even that. Eiji had never felt such deep and abiding love and commitment for another person. But he knew what it felt like to have the mere thought of someone make you want to give your life in return for theirs. If it brings Saya... Kosuke started. If this brings the professor's daughter back, it will be worth it. The professor's daughter? Eiji said softly, trying to make sure he heard correctly. Our lost colleague was Saya Ryusenji, the professor's daughter, and my fiancé. Kosuke's fiancé? His lover? Eiji struggled to picture it. Not that it mattered if he understood. If there were someone he cared for as much, he would suffer any injury to get them back. And that was what Saya meant to Kosuke. He'd worked tirelessly in pursuit of getting her back. So, Lugamon interjected. Yes, Lugamon? Dorumon said. I just want to tell you, Dorumon, Old Man Tartarus, and Lady Squad Leader here, that Eiji and I don't give a crap what you're all here for, Lugamon said gruffly, staring at the virus attribute object floating overhead. The void fell silent. We're on a mission to save our friend Pulsemon and their human partner Leon. We're not interested in anything else. That was the deal. So, move it along, Codecracker. Lugamon fumed. Eiji could tell this outburst was a long time coming. Are you willing to take responsibility then? Yulin asked defiantly. Is that what that means? We humans shouldn't be messing with the digital world any more than we already have. There are some places humanity isn't meant to tread. Eiji Nagasumi? She bellowed. You hear that? Lugamon said coyly. Sure didn't, Eiji replied. Yulin gritted her teeth. Look, I hear you loud and clear, squad leader. Or at least, I'm trying to hear you out. But we didn't come all this way just to turn around without helping our lost friends. We tagged along so we could find them. And we're so close, Eiji explained. We're not stopping till we find them. Is that what you're trying to say? Lugamon interjected, still irritated. What the wolf said! The three objects began floating around one another, overlapping in space before stretching out like the diagram for some molecule or other. The next instant, they collapsed into a single entity. A massive foundation slowly rose out of the ground, forming a stage of some sort. Elsewhere, massive blocks then rose into the air above, despite there being no visible seams or cuts in what constituted the floor beneath them. The blocks began to stack themselves before everyone's eyes. They're huge, Eiji squeaked. Blocks of several meters turned up to serve as pillars, with another block laid across each set of pillars to form a crude roof. Each makeshift stone gate then placed itself in the ground until they formed a loose circle around Eiji and the others, like a massive version of Stonehenge. They look like ruins, with an altar in the middle, Eiji said to himself. How big are these gonna get, though? Kosuke kept his cool, which Eiji took as a sign that he shouldn't panic either. Maybe these blocks weren't significant at all. The henge kept growing, however. 2 levels, then 3, all of it towering over them to an absurd degree. Eiji couldn't shake the feeling that it was meant to look like an ancient outdoor amphitheater or arena. The ground had now been hollowed out into a bowl shape. On the stage, at its center, stood the 3 prototype Digimon and their hololized companions, surrounded by the towering stone circle. Got pretty cold all of a sudden, Lugamon said through a shiver. The air inside the stone circle was indeed much cooler now. Eiji hugged his shoulders to keep warm. Can't you shoot out a little fire? Help us stay warm? He asked Lugamon. Do I look like a bonfire to you? Lugamon's inextinguishable flame would have been a great help, but they were in no mood to be ordered around. The stones finished their shuffling. The 3 prototype Digimon stood before the altar at the center of the stone circle. Commencing Phase 4, Source Data Access. When you're ready, Lugamon, Doromon said, turning to the wolf. The prototype Digimon were once again called upon to the interface with the digital world. Lugamon took a step forward, the floating objects. Doromon took hold of the restraints around Ryuramon and dragged it along. The half-conscious Digimon muttered something in Doromon's direction. Ah, awake back there, are you? Ryuramon tried again to get its message across. Into grand speeches, I see. Like the squad leader. You have won. I admit defeat. Do with me what you will. How gracious of you. Is this the famous code of honor I hear so much about? Bushido, was it? Doromon asked, peppering Ryuramon with questions as they yanked the Digimon across one last bit of floor and dropped them in front of the altar. You have made a dangerous choice. What is it that you want? Ryuramon rasped. I've taken an interest in Tartarus, in Kosuke Kisakata. I'm his partner and he's charmed me. That's all. Is it not the same for you? Dorumon said calmly. Ryudamon's eyes widened in surprise. It is time for me to repay him for all the love and kindness he has shown me, and change the world in the process. I will free the digital world, though I do not know what changes that will bring. It cannot possibly be any worse. The stone circle began to glow. Kosuke! If you have questions, keep them brief. Kosuke looked unusually keyed up and alert. Not panicky. Impatient. Everything he'd worked for was coming to a head. He kept typing code into his virtual monitor. You're going to access the source domain. The system itself, right? Eiji guessed this was the step they needed in order to get at the system-level data and manipulate it, seeing as they were already in the source domain. Access it, manipulate it. With any luck, we'll gain admin privileges over it. It's the only way we'll find the people who went DMIA in this infinite digital world. Can you run a search for Leon's Pulsemon? I only have the identification code for the Black Agumon. Well, I remember Pulsemon sent, Lugomon said, sending Kosuke data that was good as any identification code for tracking down Pulsemon. Now all we need is the DMIA treatment Professor Ryosenji gave me, Kosuke said, opening his hand to reveal the syringe full of data floating in the air. Yulin's shoulders dropped. That meant Professor Ryosenji not only signed off on Operation Tartarus, he aided Kosuke in executing it. For all she knew, he was its mastermind. There's no turning back now, Kosuke said to himself as much as anyone else. Yulin, I'm sure you want to help Saya too. Bear witness. Code enveloped in light streamed through the frigid air, connecting the three floating objects at the altar to the interfaces on their respective prototype Digimon. Whoa! Eiji said, in awe of the legendary codecracker. No humans had ever set foot in this place. Their passage beyond the gateway was like setting foot on the dark side of the moon. They were the first to leave their mark on the source domain between the gateway and the limitless expanse of the digital world. For all they'd done, this was still just the beginning. They were going to venture into that vast expanse. The blocks comprising the stone circle began to glow, revealing symbols in some unknown language. Ancient code only the prototype Digimon could decrypt. Hang on, Saya. Decryption in progress. The prototype Digimon at the altar synchronized with one another. Humanity, with its many tools and iron will, was about to travel far and wide across the digital... The light of the pillars flickered and died. The entire process shut down, taking out Kosuke's virtual monitor. Eiji turned to look, but... Good morning, friends. Darkness.